Hey, what's up, everybody? Time for another psychology social study video game video. Remember, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel, super chat, super like, whatever it's called. I appreciate it. Thanks. Hopefully, this video isn't too misconstrued to sound like I'm talking shit, but it's going to be a rambly video. Because, of course, I have a lot of respect for Mike, but something happened recently, and it made me think about Mike and talking about video game stuff. Of course, there's just haters coping and stuff like that, right? But so I've said before, long forward, I don't watch a lot of video game stuff, especially when I'm traveling, and it can be months at a time without playing video games, or just technically years without playing certain video games, right? We've already gone over those videos like, oh, Clayton must practice. He's playing this. We know he's playing this, so blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, I can go months and months at a time without playing any video game. I've gone years without playing said video game, right? And even when I was in Japan, didn't really keep up on any video game thing besides on the train, YouTube, watch some Super Turbo matches, or if a Street Fighter 6 match, popped up, I watched a few. But anyway, so getting back to America, eventually start looking at things, and I posted that Twitter thing, so I was getting recommended weird Twitter shit, And I asked even, say, the Atlanta, Georgia guy, I recently asked him, you know what I mean? Because people think that I'm always checking all this video game shit or Discords and stuff like that. I don't even know. I messaged that guy just yesterday. I'm like, hey, is there anything weird going on about me lately? I can't keep up with all this shit, right? And like I said, it's funny because, for something like Guilty Gear, the Atlanta, Georgia guy is one of the last guys I played, I think. You know what I mean? And that was over a year and a half ago. I think, I'm sure maybe he remembers. I think we played in maybe April or something. And I went to Turkey, what was it, in June or something, like 2 years ago? Like, that was one of the last times I played Guilty Gear. You know what I mean? I just don't play this shit. But, so again, recently though, this year, I came back and I played a little bit of Street Fighter Alpha, right? And I feel lucky that I got to play Mike Watson, right? And, Mike Watson is one of the guys that I looked up to, as a kid. You're growing up, and he's one of the main guys that you would hear about in a game like Street Fighter, right? And I always think when I psychoanalyze, you know what I mean, or make assumptions about Mike, and he's been nice to me, and even when we caught up, before, like I said, when I was a kid, man, he offered to buy me a controller when I don't have money to, for this shit, because I'm playing on duct taped controllers, And, I didn't take him up on the offer because he doesn't owe me anything, but, I appreciate the offer, and he's always been nice to me. And I was even and when we were talking again, he was like, hey, I want us to know that we're actually friends, right? And I'm sorry if I ever talk any shit about you. And I've said before, he was being real nice to me. I'm like, is everything okay? You know what I mean? I'm like, dude, Mike, we don't have to say we're friends, you know what I mean? Like, being friends with somebody is such an easy word, you know what I mean? I'm like, if you're cool with me, I'm cool with you, dude. Like, there's never been a problem. And he was like, oh, well, I was always talking a lot of shit. Like, maybe I talk shit about you or something like that. And I was like, dude, I got fucking stalkers, dude. If you said anything to me, I don't even remember it, considering how many fucking weirdos. And if anything, and like I've told the story on YouTube, you know what I mean? I thought maybe Mike thought I talked shit about him before, because if you recall, there's that story back in the day. That one Evo, I was beating everybody during casual. I beat the Japanese, I was beating Watson, Mike, I was beating Valley, I was beating everybody. And people were like, holy shit. And that was when I was a kid, right? And this is before, way back in the day that we all didn't have phones that are on the internet. And I eventually left the arcade after all of that. Like I said, I beat the Japanese and everybody, all during casual, right? It was crazy. And then, then they had computers at the arena. I went on the computer, and so then I started checking, and I saw forums like SRK, oh, that kid Final Showdown is so full of himself. He was talking all this shit. He thinks he's so good because he beat Watson, he beat Vi, he beat the Japanese. I can't wait to see him lose. And, I was already going to tournaments, sick as a kid. And I'm like, holy shit. What is this? What are these people saying on the forums? I'm like, I'm like a kid. I didn't even if I wanted to talk shit, I had no time to go and talk shit about it. And it made me so depressed, and took me out of the whole moment of something that made me feel lucky that I even got to play guys like this, and that I even beat them in casual. I was like, whoa, like maybe I'm actually gonna do good, you know. And then people tried to make it out, and that's that Temujin guy. And I know me and Mike even talked about that afterwards. But anyway, point is, you know, Mike was very nice to me. But so, you know, I'd ask him, you know, do you still play games and all this kind of stuff? And he was like, oh no, not really. But you know, Mike, I guess, you know, this is such a long forward, because basically when I just got back to America so long ago, and you know, eventually, you know, asking Atlanta, Georgia, what's going on, because he's one of the guys that shows me what happens on Discords and forums, because I just don't check it, you know, myself all the time. And then I looked at other things like Fightcade, and I saw Mike. I saw this other account, and I'm like, this is obviously Mike. And I guess the weird thing is, to me, you know, when I talk about people, and again, this isn't to talk shit about him, you know, it sucks when we care about something and we don't feel that we get the credit for it. And this doesn't happen to only just say bad players, right? Like a lot of times I focus on the Jimmies, like this picture, like, oh, the evil Clayton, he must be practicing, he must be playing, we know he's evil, he's lying to us, right? It happens to good players too, right? And because when I was talking to Mike, you know what I mean? We were talking, I'm like, of course I don't really play it. Like I said, the one thing for me though is that every now and then I make combo videos, which, you know, and the last time I made a combo video, you know what I mean? But that is something that even though I don't play, you know, every now and then maybe I'll make a combo video so my fingers have moved, right? And you know, again, if we talk about like the Scrub-a-Dub or the Jimmy or the real kind of like, you know, just absolutely delusional person saying like, oh, I'm a newbie, like that one guy had played 12,000 matches saying he's a noob. 12,000 matches, that's more than I've fucking played any video game all video games that I've played combined together. That's more than I've probably played in like 15 years or some shit like that. 12,000 matches. And he's done that like in a year and a half or whatever the fuck that was. And so, oh, I beat him when he was a noob. Like, come on, bro. You know, like I said, people don't realize how good they have it now. Because back in the day, you know, if you weren't winning, you weren't playing. You know, people are saying that they're noobs now when they have like 12,000 matches. Like, dude, you played more than I've played in my fucking entire life. It's fucking crazy, dude. You know, but anyway. But, you know, I was talking to Mike. He's like, oh, I don't really play. But, you know, I know Mike, you know. But again, and from a certain perspective, you could say Mike doesn't play, considering how much, you know, quotation mark, kids play, or what is normal to play nowadays, right? But, you know, Mike was like, oh yeah, I don't really play games anymore, you know, just randomly. But I had saw Mike, and even we were talking, like, man, do you have other accounts? He's like, oh, well, it's not really my account. You know what I mean? It's just another account that I play on of my friends, but it's got like hours and hours and hours on it. You know what I mean? And then, you know, what I'm getting is I got back and I'm like, oh man, this is another account. Like, I don't know how many accounts he had, just like 4 or 5 accounts. And I guess what I get at when I psychoanalyze that, it kind of made me sad for him. Right? And this isn't to say, like, I have a lot of respect for him. Like I said, personally, for me, when I think about Street Fighter, I look up to guys like Mike Watson, you know what I mean? Because those were the guys, you know what I mean? When I was growing up, before guys like Vai and Choi really got famous, and then you heard about guys like Daigo in Japan and all this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? You know, as a kid, I read about guys like Watson, you know what I mean? And I read about guys like Tomo and everything like that. So that was, I guess, as a kid's idol, like, oh, these guys must be like the unreachable flower. That sounds kind of gay. The unobtainable flower. I guess you probably don't say that for a guy, or like whatever. But you know, those were the guys you were like, oh, these guys are the best, right, dude? You know what I mean? And again, when I psychoanalyze, when I think about Mike, I think about that, like, Mike had that situation with the hyper fighting thing recently where, you know, they were supposed to play on one cabinet, but then like the new players only wanted to play on fucking the computer or whatever the fuck it was. Someone can probably, you know, correct me, whatever it was. And he was like, fine, we'll play on this, even though it was supposed to be this. And, you know, he played and it like ruined his trip, or his like that thing, right? You know what I mean? And his friend is cancer or something that he's also doing the tournament for. And I was like, Mike, you know, you don't owe anyone in the community anything, right? Like, you did that whole Supercade thing. And I'm like, dude, most people would never probably go through that trouble of trying to make an arcade for the community. And, you know, again, I say it for like five times now, I like psychoanalyze Mike. I always feel like there must be this idea that, you know, he was famous at a time for Street Fighter before Street Fighter really became big on the internet. And maybe he feels like he missed out and he doesn't get the kind of respect that he should have got, right? Because then guys like Valley and Choi got famous, and maybe they're more famous than him. And, you know, that whole hyper fighting thing, whatever it happens, like, oh no, you know, I want to play in this, but I don't want the community to think I'm a bad guy. It's like, Mike, but you don't owe anybody anything. Look at this arcade shit you went through years ago. Most people would never do that. These people saying that they don't play video games, like, these people have probably played more video games than you've ever played. Like, and I see Mike, you know, saying that he doesn't play and everything like that, and which was funny too, because I remember one of the last times I think I posted on Reddit, just because I saw people talking shit about me, trying to say that I made up the matches between me and Mike or something like that, which was weird. And like, oh, well, Mike doesn't play that character when you beat him like that, or you faked matches. And I'm like, dude, what matches did I fake? All I ever do is I say good things about Mike. Mike beat me more when we played. He's like, oh, well, you tried to make it seem like you beat him. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And like, you play this game all the time. Mike never plays. I'm like, dude, Mike has so many fucking fake accounts that he plays on. Like, what? Like, does he have 4 or 5 accounts? I don't know how, but he said it's not his accounts, right? But I feel like Mike almost has this kind of thing. Like, he feels kind of like, I don't know. Again, we're not good friends like that, but we've talked. But talking to him and everything, I can feel kind of like the insecurity that maybe I don't get the respect I deserve, so I'm going to make another account because, you know, and even I've said this about the competitive ego, and Street Fighter fighting games are a weird thing because fighting games are the one kind of thing, you know what I mean? It's like a competition between two people, and maybe Mike makes these, well, again, he plays on other people's accounts, but they have hours and hours. You know what I mean? It's like me, what would I do? I haven't played games in years. You know, not, and like, it's like not even like you're playing like, oh, well, I haven't played Street Fighter Alpha in so many years, but I'm still playing Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter Alpha 2, you know, Super Turbo, you know, actually playing versus human beings, you know, like when people say I've played video games, okay, so I haven't played any video game in like months, but okay, I made one combo video that year or something like that's the only thing, right? You know what I mean? Like, again, when's the last time I've even played a human person in a video game? Like, I don't even know. Oh, well, I mean, besides, you know, I guess I did play Street Fighter Alpha this year, but Guilty Gear, never this year. You know what I mean? It's just, it's ridiculous. But, you know, I guess I'm getting, when I saw that Mike has another account that he plays on, I felt sad and I felt the insecurity because of that. And I felt like video games are kind of an addiction. And Mike is lucky enough that Mike is an actual competitive player. And, you know, I don't know how famous he is now, or I don't know what his rep in the community is now. But you know what I mean? I felt kind of sad, you know what I mean? Because I can tell that Mike really likes video games and video games are really important to him. But I feel like he's afraid to admit it, right? Like, I don't think that you make that, again, he didn't make them apparently. He just plays on other people's accounts. I don't think you would play that often. And even if it's not as often as a new school person plays, I don't think you would play that often if you don't really care. And I feel bad for him because of that hyper fighting thing. And it's like, dude, how many more chances are you going to get to play this game that you were famous for? And because you didn't want to seem like the bad guy, you're like, okay, we'll play on console, we won't play arcade. And it's like, dude, you don't owe the community anything. And I guess what I'm getting at is, like I said, and I saw that he has another account and he plays, and even though he says he doesn't really play, and I'm like, I just looked at it and I felt sad because, again, the competitive ego, again, even when I feel, even that little bit that I played Street Fighter, look at how much hate I got. You know, everyone's like, oh, Clayton faked all these tournaments he won. You know, oh, he's never done all this. Like, oh, okay, well, he won, but it's in a game we don't care about. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, you care more than I do. You know what I mean? Like, you guys look at the hours you've played these games. I'm pretty sure you care about these games more than I do, right? And that's not that I don't care about games, but I just found a different way that I can enjoy games. I can enjoy games just by watching a match of Super Turbo, right? You know, it's kind of fun. It's like, oh, kind of nostalgic. You know, I don't actually have that raw desire to still play. And I'm held to such a ridiculous standard, even though I don't say that I'm good at games, you know what I mean? I don't pretend that, I'm the best person. Anytime that I win at games, I'm like, I'm surprised that I'm able to win. I'm surprised that I'm able to do all this stuff in games. You know what I mean? The only thing I talk shit about is, you know, combo video and tech-wise. I just have such little respect for other combo video guys and tech-wise. Like, people are a joke to me. You know what I mean? But actually competitive wise, you know, I'm always like, I'm surprised that I can win because I'm not practicing. I don't play. You know, people say they don't play nowadays. Fucking thousands and thousands of matches. You know, Mike's situation, you know, I can still see that he plays for hours and hours. You know what I mean? And that's cool. But at least Mike is actually a competitive player. You know what I mean? Has actually done something in video games. But I guess what I'm getting at again, and I've said before, I felt when I saw that Mike has another account that he plays on. And I see people try to accuse me of like, oh, well, who cares if you played Mike? You know, you're actually playing this game. He doesn't play this game. And I see he has more hours and hours on other accounts. And it's like, bro. But I felt bad for Mike because maybe I identified, in a very small way, identified as someone that I do like Street Fighter. But I'm not afraid to admit it, right? I'm not too afraid to admit how much I care. I just don't care to actually play. I don't care to lie about saying that I don't play, but I'm actually playing on other accounts and all this kind of stuff, right? But I feel bad for Mike when I saw that because I'm like, man, there's a guy that probably doesn't get the respect that he deserves in Street Fighter because he was famous before the internet was becoming more of a thing, and always feeling like, oh man, I tried to make this arcade and I was getting shit on by the city. And, you know, but I want people to know that I care about the community and, you know, then the hyper fighting thing. I don't know. I guess I just felt bad. And I guess that the thing is, this video is showing you that, you know, not only bad players can be insecure, good players have that insecurity too, I guess, is what I saw that as. And, you know, I always feel like, man, if I knew how to make my own Street Fighter, I said before, if I had any kind of technical ability, I would have just rebalanced all these Street Fighters, made my own Street Fighter, just boom, leave the community, right? Because I don't know. You know what I mean? I guess the community, I don't know. I guess Mike likes a part of the community. Mike fucks with people that I don't fuck with. You know, there's a lot of people I don't fuck with that I see Mike is friends with, you know what I mean? I'm like, but you know, I'm like, I would never fuck with these guys, but you know, whatever. I guess again, what I'm getting at is I felt bad that when I've had these conversations with Mike, I'm like, Mike, I think you're afraid to admit that you care. You don't do the stuff that you do if you don't actually care. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and it's okay for you to care. And you've done enough for the community for people that they should accept that you care. You know? I don't know. Remember, if you like the videos, like, subscribe, comment, share, support the channel if you want. I appreciate it. Thanks. The end.